Now next is variation. We know that what is variation. Variations means the difference between the individuals in the same species known as variation, or we can also say that the difference or the degree of difference present in the offspring than the parents known as variation. We all know that there are many type of variation occur in organism. There are certain variation which is help that organism to survive in particular environment, and there are many variations present in organism which is not help that organism to survive there in their particular environment. So let us talk about the variation which help organism to survive. For example, consider there are some beetles living in green plants. They increases their number by reproduction, but crow can easily see the rare beetles and eaten by the crow. During reproduction, some variation occur, and green beetles are produced instead of red beetles. The green beetles are not visible to the crow and not eaten by them. Then gradually the population of red beetles decreases because crow continuously eaten only those beetles having red color, because green beetles are not visible in the plant, in a plant. So the population of green beetles are increases. So we can say here that this variation help that organism to survive in that particular environment. Now next is some variation do not help organism to survive. During sexual reproduction, a color variation occur in red beetles, and some produce some beetles having blue color will produce. Here the blue color is easily visible by the crow, and crow can eat those beetles having blue colors. Then the population of both the red color and blue beetles continuously decreases. So here the variation occur, but this variation does not help this organism to survive in that condition or in particular condition. Now next is trait. The acquired trait cannot be passed from the one generation to the another generation, which means the certain characters which acquired by the particular individuals, which is not passed from the generation to the another generation. We can say that there are those traits or those characters are only passed those who connected with the genetic material or genetic, which means those characters are connected with the genetic material are only transferred from parental to traits. The acquired characters are not transferred from the one generation to another generation. For example, if the population of beetle increases and plants are affected by disease. For example, due to reproduction, the beetle increases in the number, but at the same time, the beetles living on the plant will have some diseases. Then the food available for the beetles decreases, and due to this, their body weight also decreases. If after a few years the availability of food increases, then body weight of beetles also increases. So here the decreases in body weight of the beetles known as acquired trait. It is because the decreases in food decreases in availability of food. When the food is available, the character of weight, body weight will also increases. But this decreases in weight is a acquired trait and will not transfer from the generation to another generation. Okay. Now next is speciation. The formation of new species from existing species mainly due to the more of following factors. They are accumulation of variation, physical barrier, genetic drift, natural selection, and migration. Which means, what is speciation? Speciation means the formation of new species from existing species, which means in simple language we can say that speciation is the process of formation of new species from the existing species. Means नई 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 स्पीसीज पुरानी स्पीसीज में से फॉर्म होना, इस प्रोसेस को हम स्पीशिएशन बोलते हैं, जो कि एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ वेरिएशन, फिजिकल बैरियर, जेनेटिक ड्रिफ्ट, नेचुरल सिलेक्शन एंड माइग्रेशन की वजह से फॉर्मेशन होते हैं. So let us see one by one. First factor is accumulation of variation. The difference between the individuals of same species called variation. The accumulation of this variation over several generations produce new species. We know that the individuals in the same species are different, and during after generation by generation, this variation is accumulated in that particular progeny to the offspring, and it lead to the formation of new species. Physical barrier. Next factor is physical barrier. Population may get separated by physical barriers like mountain, river, lake. This isolated group produce variation which can be produce new species. Means due to physical barriers like river, lake and mountain and etc. This isolated group produce certain variation which is necessary for them to survive in that condition, and this lead to produce new species. Third factor is genetic drift. Natural calamities or introduction of new member of the same species in an area can produce change in the gene pool of population and new variation produced, which can produce new species. Means introduction of new member of same species means नए इंडिविजुअल्स को अगर जब इंट्रोड्यूस होगा स्पीसीज में पर्टिकुलर एरिया में, तो वो जीन पूल में चेंज लाएगा, दिस वेरिएशन लीड्स टू द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ न्यू स्पीसीज. नेक्स्ट फैक्टर इज नेचुरल सिलेक्शन. Only those individuals or species which have useful variation can adapt to the change in the environment and variation, and another die. This organism can produce variation and new species. Means in natural selection only those individuals or species will survive which have useful variation that can help them to adapt with the change in the environment, and this variation after leads to the formation of new species. Next is migration. Some individuals of species may migrate to new geographical area and adjust to that change in the environment. They produce certain variation, and this variation later produce new species, which means some individuals of species migrate to the new area, and to adapt that area they will produce certain variation, and this variation lead to formation of new species. Now next is evolution. The gradual change taking place in living organism give rise to new organism due to change in genetic composition is called evolution. Means ग्रेजुअल चेंज टेक प्लेस इन लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म, मतलब लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म में जो चेंजेस होते हैं टाइम टू टाइम, उसकी वजह से नए ऑर्गेनिज्म और नए स्पीसीज आते हैं, नई स्पीसीज प्रोड्यूस होती हैं ड्यू टू जेनेटिक चेंज इन जेनेटिक कंपोजिशन. दिस प्रोसेस नोन एज इवोल्यूशन. There are due to evolution there are two characters are from. First one is the inherited characters and acquired characters. Means in evolution there are two types of characters present. First one is inherited characters and second one is the acquired characters. The name of this type say everything about them. That inherited characters or inherited trait means those traits which inherited from parents to their offspring. Okay, and the acquired character means those characters which acquired by the particular individuals that will not pass from the parents to the offspring. So let us see one by one. First one is inherited characters. Inherited traits are traits in organism due to change in genetic composition, and it can pass from one generation to the next generation. It results in evolution. Means the inherited traits are which is traits due to change in the genetic composition, and it pass from the one generation to the another generation and result in evolution. Means जो inherited character trait है वो genetic composition की वजह से होते हैं और वो वन जनरेशन टू अनदर जनरेशन पास होते हैं, जिसकी वजह से इवोल्यूशन होता है. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज एक्वायर्ड ट्रेट. Acquired trait means the acquired trait are trait which acquired by the organism during the lifetime, and it cannot be passed from the one generation to the next generation and does not result in evolution. Means जो acquired trait है वो उस तरह की trait है जो कि organism उसकी लाइफ टाइम में होते जनरेट करते हैं, जो कि जेनेटिक कंपोजिशन में चेंज नहीं होता है. And this cannot pass from the one generation to the another generation. Means जो acquired character है वो one generation to another generation pass नहीं हो गए, and it does not result in evolution. So this is about inherited trait and acquired trait. That can be asked in exam, that what is the difference between inherited trait and acquired trait. Now, what is the evidence of evolution? We study about evolution and talk about the evolution, but what is the evidence of this evolution? That evolution take place in particular manner. So there are different kinds of evidence present which indicate that there is a evolution process. There is a process which called evolution take place in organism. So there are a number of features in different organisms which provide evidence to show the evolutionary relationship among them, which means there are certain characters or certain features present in the different organisms which indicate that the evolutionary relationship between them. For example, homologous organs, analogous organs, and fossils. First one is a homologous organ. The organ which are similar in structure but different in function. So what is homologous organ? Homologous organ are those organs which have similar structure but different in function. मतलब वो structurally similar होंगे but उनका function different होगा. For example, forelimb of amphibian, reptile, bird and mammals. You can compare the forelimbs of different group of animals. For example, in a frogs or amphibian, it use forelimbs to raise in the front. मतलब in amphibians they use their forelimbs to raise in the front, where in lizard the forelimbs used for walking and running. Birds use their forelimbs for flying, and mammals use their forelimbs for grabbing and running and swimming, and also for flying. This shows the evolutionary relationship between those organs, that they are adapted for that particular environment, but they are developed from the particular organs, and the structure of these organs are similar. Look at this picture. You can see that the structure of different animals of the forelimb. For example, whale, bat, horse and man. All these organisms have structurally similar forelimb, but all these organisms use their forelimbs for different purposes. For example, whales use their forelimbs for swimming, where bats use their forelimbs for flying, and horse use their forelimbs for running. You can see in this picture also that their structure is similar skeleton, but their function is different from each other. Now another type of organs, the analogous organ. The analogous organs are those organs which different in structure but similar in function, which means the organs which have different structure but similar in function. ऐसे organs जो कि structurally different होते हैं but functionally similar होते हैं, ऐसे organism को हम analogous organ बोलते हैं. For example, wings of butterfly and wings of bat and another birds. It shows that evolutionary relationship between them, that wings of butterfly and wings of bat is structurally different but used for similar function to flying. Now this can be asked in exam, that differentiate between homologous organ and analogous organs. So we have to write the definition of homologous and analogous organs and the examples of homologous and analogous organ. Now next evidence of evolution is fossil. So are the remain of organism which live long ago. From the study of fossil we can know the structure and the time period in which they live. Means fossils के यूज से हम पता लगा सकते हैं कि कौन से ऑर्गेनिज्म किस टाइम पे अर्थ पे रह चुके होंगे. ओके, द फॉसिल ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्स एंड रिसेंट ऑर्गेनिज्म आर फाउंड to the near to the surface, and the simple and organism which live long back are found before the earth. The age of fossil can be determined by the radiocarbon dating. The process known as radiocarbon dating, which is used to know the age of fossil. The study of fossil show the evolution of simpler form into complex form. The fossil study shows that the simpler forms of organism are evolved into the complex forms of the organism and their evolutionary relationship. These are the different types of fossil. Tree trunk fossil, you can see here. This is the fossil of tree trunk. This is the fossil of fish. This is the fossil of invertebrate, and this is the fossil of dinosaur, skull of dinosaur, which is found in here Gujarat also. Now evolution by stages. The complex organism and its organ develop from the simpler organism gradually over the generation, which want to say that the complex organisms are evolved from the simpler organism by the gradually over the generation. Means जनरेशन टू जनरेशन जब जनरेशन टू जनरेशन वेरिएशन हो गए, उसकी वजह से सिंपलर ऑर्गेनिज्म में से कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑर्गेनिज्म विल प्रोड्यूस और विल फॉर्म. So first one is the evolution of ice. Examples of similar to complex organism is evolution of ice in organism. The ice of planaria are just a ice spot to detect the light, which means the ice present in planaria is just a ice spot which detect the light, and it gradually develop into the complex organ in a higher animal. We can see the higher animals having well developed the eyes, which can certain animals they are also present there which can sense and which can see the also infrared and visible also, where in planaria they can only detect the light, which evolved later gradually after generation by generation into the complex organ in higher animal. Evolution of feather.